October 14, 1943, 25,000 feet above northern Germany. First Lieutenant Daniel Mercer feels the vibration before he hears it. The controls of his B-17 Flying Fortress tremble in his gloved hands. The aluminum skin of the aircraft shudders like a living thing in pain. Outside the cockpit glass, the sky is no longer blue. It is black with flak. Below them lies the industrial heart of the Reich factories feeding the war machine of Nazi Germany. Somewhere down there, German women in gray factory uniforms assemble aircraft engines and ammunition. Somewhere down there, searchlights wait. Mercer keeps his voice steady. Hold formation. Bomb run in 30 seconds. The interphone crackles. His crew answers one by one, voices tight but controlled. They have flown together since England. They know the drill. They also know today is different. Black bursts of 88mm flak blossom all around them. A fragment punches through the nose. The bombardier swears. Glass sprays across the cockpit like ice. Then the sky changes. Fighters, 3 o'clock high. Out of the sun dive the sleek shapes of Messerschmitt Bf 109 fighters. Yellow noses, black crosses. They slice through the bomber formation with terrifying precision. Mercer watches one B-17 ahead of them take a direct cannon hit. The wing folds. The bomber rolls, trailing fire, and disappears into cloud. Stay level, Mercer orders. The bomb bay doors open. Cold air screams through the fuselage. The aircraft lurches as bombs release. The mission strike and turn west. That is the plan, but war ignores plans. A Bf 109 flashes across their nose. Cannon fire rips through the right wing. The engine erupts in flame. Number 3's on fire. Mercer smells it now, burning oil and cordite. He feathers the propeller. The formation is breaking apart under the assault. Bombers scatter. Fighters weave between them like wolves. Then comes the impact. A violent metallic scream. A shadow fills the windshield. Another B-17, crippled and out of control, slams into Mercer's left wing. The collision tears metal like paper. Both aircraft lock together for one impossible second, tangled in sky and fire. Inside Mercer's cockpit, everything goes silent. They are no longer flying. They are falling. The sky spins. Daniel Mercer tastes blood. His forehead strikes the instrument panel as the crippled B-17 Flying Fortress rolls violently. Warning lights flash red across the cockpit. The altimeter unwinds like a clock gone mad. 23,000 feet, and dropping fast. Report. Mercer shouts. No answer from the left side of the aircraft. The other bomber is still there, half fused into their wing. Twisted aluminum grinding against aluminum. Its tail section is sheared off. Its right engine burns bright as a torch. For one surreal moment, both bombers fall together, locked in an impossible embrace over Nazi Germany. Then gravity tears them apart. The wrecked B-17 slips away, rolling helplessly. Mercer catches a glimpse of men inside the shattered fuselage. One is still at the waist gun. Another crawls toward the radio room. No parachutes yet. The other bomber vanishes into cloud. Controls. His co-pilot screams. Mercer pulls hard. The yoke barely responds. The left wing is shredded. The outer section is gone entirely. Only the inner spar holds. Another explosion rocks them. A second engine coughs and dies. They are flying onto engines now. Flak continues bursting around them, but the fighters are gone. The Messerschmitt Bf 109 pilots have other prey. Mercer forces the nose down slightly to gain airspeed. The fortress trembles but stabilizes barely. Feather number 2. Hydraulics are shot. Bomb bay doors won't close. Smoke creeps back through the fuselage. He looks over his shoulder toward the waist compartment. 2 gunners drag a wounded crewman away from a jagged hole in the fuselage. The tail section is partially destroyed. The tail gunner does not answer when called. Altitude, 17,000 feet. They are no longer in formation. They are alone. Mercer's training whispers one word, bailout, but he scans the clouds below. They are over central Germany now, deep inside enemy territory. Snow-dusted farmland, small villages, forest patches. Every field holds soldiers. If they jump now, his crew scatters across the Reich. If he keeps flying, maybe, just maybe, they reach the Dutch coast. Stay with her, Mercer says quietly. His co-pilot stares at him. Danny, she's dying. Mercer grips the yoke harder. She's not dead yet. Below, searchlights begin probing the thinning cloud layer. Somewhere, anti-aircraft crews reload. Somewhere, civilians look up at the burning bomber that refuses to fall. The fortress shudders violently again. A loud crack echoes through the fuselage. The damaged left wing bends downward, and the aircraft begins another uncontrollable roll. The fortress rolls left. Daniel Mercer slams his boot against the right rudder pedal and hauls back on the yoke with everything he has. The control column vibrates like it's alive, fighting him. The damaged wing groans a deep, metallic scream carried through the fuselage. Counter it, the co-pilot shouts. Altitude, 14,000 feet. The bomber dips through cloud, bursting into cold sunlight. Below them spreads a patchwork of German farmland fields, rail lines, narrow roads, and smoke. Columns of black smoke rise from bombed factories in the distance. The roll slows, not level but survivable. Mercer breathes once, sharp and controlled. Engine status. Number 3's gone. Number 2 losing oil pressure. We're bleeding fuel. They are limping onto good engines and prayer. In the waist, Staff Sergeant Collins braces himself against a torn section of fuselage. Wine howls through the jagged hole where aluminum used to be. He looks down. They are lower now. Too low for comfort. Lieutenant, Collins calls forward over the interphone. I see the other ship. Mercer's stomach tightens. Where? 10 o'clock low. Mercer leans forward, squinting through cracked glass. There. The other B-17. Flying Fortress, the one they collided with, descends in a slow, uncontrolled glide. Its tail is missing. Smoke pours from the fuselage, but it is not spinning. It is flying. How? The co-pilot whispers. Mercer doesn't answer. The two bombers drift through the same broken sky. Wounded giants refusing to surrender to gravity. Below, a column of German troops halts on a road. Trucks pull aside. Soldiers step out and point upward. Near a factory yard, women in heavy coats, laborers. Mechanics spill from a brick building at the sound of engines overhead. Some shield their eyes. Some stare, frozen. One of them drops her tool bag. The bombers are too low now for flak. The anti-aircraft guns hesitate. They do not want debris falling into their own towns. Mercer studies the crippled aircraft beside them. If it goes down in a populated area, radio them, he orders. Radio's dead. Of course it is. The two bombers drift closer again, separated by only a few hundred yards. Smoke trails mingle in the air like fading contrails of defiance. Inside Mercer's fortress, the left wing jerks violently downward. A sharp crack echoes. The main spar fractures further. The aircraft drops 50 feet in an instant. In the other bomber, a parachute suddenly blossoms from the rear fuselage, white against gray sky. One man has jumped, then another. Mercer watches them drift toward German soil. He swallows. If his wing fails completely, his crew will not have that choice. Prepare to bail out, he says quietly. But even as he says it, he sees something ahead, a wide open stretch of frozen field. And he makes a decision. Daniel Mercer locks his eyes on the frozen field ahead. It is long, flat, white with frost. A narrow tree line borders the far end. Beyond that, houses, civilians. He cannot overshoot. Listen up, Mercer shouts into the interphone. We're putting her down. Gear won't hold. Belly landing. Brace positions. Silence answers him for half a second. Then, copy. No panic. Just breath and discipline. The crippled B-17 Flying Fortress dips lower, engines roaring unevenly. The left wing hangs like a broken arm. Smoke streams behind them. To their right, the other damaged B-17 struggles through the air. It is slightly ahead now, descending toward the same stretch of land. Mercer narrows his eyes. They are going to land side by side. Throttle back. His co-pilot yells. Mercer eases power. The aircraft shudders violently. Hydraulic pressure is gone. Flaps barely respond. The bomb bay doors hang open like wounds. Altitude, 500 feet. Below, German soldiers scatter from a road that cuts across the field. A truck swerves into a ditch. In the distance, factory sirens begin to wail again. Near the edge of the field, a group of German women in heavy coats stand frozen, staring upward. Some wear factory armbands. One clutches a helmet to her chest. They are close enough now that Mercer can see their faces: fear, shock, disbelief. The American bomber should be a symbol of destruction. Instead, it looks broken. Brace, Mercer shouts. He cuts the remaining power. The fortress drops. Impact. Metal screams as the belly of the bomber slams into frozen earth. The force drives Mercer forward against his harness. The nose plows through frost and dirt, throwing up a wall of soil and snow. The aircraft skids, sparks exploding from torn aluminum. Inside, men are thrown against bulkheads. Ammunition belts spill loose. A scream cut short. The left wing finally gives way, tearing off in a violent wrench of metal. The bomber spins sideways and comes to a grinding halt. Silence. Only wind. Mercer's ears ring. Smoke drifts through the cockpit. He forces his hands to move, releases the harness, checks his co-pilot alive, bleeding, but conscious. Out, move. In the distance, another explosion echoes. Mercer turns. The second B-17 slams into the far side of the field, sliding violently, tailless fuselage carving a trench through frozen ground. But it does not explode. It skids to a stop. Two American bombers now rest broken in the heart of Nazi Germany. German soldiers are already running toward them, and the women at the field's edge have not moved. They simply stare. The wind cuts through the torn fuselage like a blade. Daniel Mercer drops from the cockpit hatch into frozen mud. His boots sink into frost and spilled hydraulic fluid. The air smells of fuel, burned oil, and churned earth. Behind him, his crew stumbles out of the shattered B-17 Flying Fortress faces blackened with soot. Flight jackets torn, hands raised instinctively though no one has ordered it yet. Across the field, the second bomber rests in a long scar carved through the ground. Its nose is crushed. Smoke rises lazily from the engines. German soldiers approach at a run, rifles leveled, gray wool coats, steel helmets, discipline in their stride. One shouts an order Mercer cannot fully hear. "Han Hock." Mercer raises his hands. His co-pilot follows. Then the gunners. One of them limps badly. Another holds a blood-soaked bandage against his side. A young German corporal reaches them first, breath steaming in the cold. His rifle trembles slightly, not from fear, but adrenaline. He stares at Mercer with something like disbelief. Two bombers, alive, not burning wreckage. Behind the soldiers, the factory women begin moving closer, drawn by the unnatural sight. Their heavy coats flap in the wind. Some whisper. One woman presses her hand to her mouth. Mercer glances toward the second aircraft. American crewmen crawl out of it too. They are alive. For a moment, something unspoken hangs in the air between enemies. Then the rifles tighten. A German officer arrives, older, composed, pistol at his side. He surveys the field, the twin wrecks, the captured airmen. He speaks sharply. The soldiers move in, patting down the Americans, removing pistols, maps, dog tags. One of Mercer's gunners mutters under his breath, "We made it." Mercer does not respond. From the corner of his eye, he sees a woman step closer than the others. She wears a dark factory uniform under her coat. Grease stains mark her hands. She cannot be more than 25. She looks directly at Mercer, not with hatred, with shock. Perhaps she expected the bombers to explode, to kill, to burn her city. Instead, they lie broken and silent. A wounded American from the second crew collapses near the edge of the field. A German soldier hesitates, for 1 second, then he calls for a medic. The tension shifts. Mercer feels it. This is no longer battle. This is something else. Prisoners. The German officer steps closer to Mercer. His English is careful. "You are lucky," he says. "You should be dead." Mercer studies him. "So should we." In the distance, more trucks arrive. The Americans are surrounded now. As Mercer is marched away from the wreck, he looks back once, to shattered B-17s in a frozen field, and German women still watching in stunned silence. But what waits for them beyond this field he does not yet know. They march through the edge of town under armed guard. Daniel Mercer keeps his head level, boots crunching over frozen gravel. His hands are no longer raised, but rifles remain trained on his back. Around him walk the surviving crews from both shattered B-17, Flying Fortress bombers, 12 men in torn flight jackets, oxygen masks hanging uselessly around their necks. The town smells of coal smoke and machinery. Windows open as they pass. Faces appear, old men, children, women in factory coats. Some glare, some simply stare. One elderly woman makes the sign of the cross. The younger factory women from the field have followed at a distance. Their expressions are complicated: anger, confusion, curiosity. They have seen what American bombs can do. Now they see the men who dropped them. A stone building near the rail yard becomes their temporary holding point. A Wehrmacht sergeant pushes open the heavy wooden door and gestures inside. "Los, schnell." The Americans enter a cold storage hall. Concrete floor, bare bulbs hanging from wires. The air echoes. A medic kneels beside the wounded gunner from the second crew. To Mercer's surprise, the medic works quickly and without cruelty, cutting away fabric, wrapping bandages, injecting morphine. War pauses, but only slightly. A German lieutenant enters. Clean uniform, Iron Cross ribbon on his tunic. He studies Mercer carefully. "You were pilot?" he asks in accented English. "Yes." "You attempted landing to avoid town?" "It is not a question." Mercer says nothing. The lieutenant nods once, as if confirming something for himself. "You are now prisoners of war. You will be transferred to a camp." The word hangs in the air. Camp. The Americans exchange brief glances. They all know what that means. Barbed wire. Interrogation. Years if the war lasts. Outside, a sudden commotion rises. Shouting. Mercer turns toward the door. A group of civilians has gathered. Some are angry. One man yells accusations. "Terrorflieger. Terror flyers." He gestures violently toward the prisoners. The lieutenant stiffens. He steps outside, barking orders. German military police pushed the crowd back. Through the open doorway, Mercer sees the same young factory woman from the field. She stands silent amid the noise. Her eyes lock onto his again. Not hatred, not forgiveness, something unsettled. A truck engine starts outside. The prisoners are ordered up. As Mercer climbs into the back of the transport truck, he glances down the street. The two broken bombers still sit in the frozen field beyond town, guarded but intact grim monuments under gray sky. The truck jolts forward. They are leaving the crash site, leaving the open air, and heading deeper into Nazi Germany, not as airmen, but as captives, and none of them know how long the war will last. The truck rattles through the German countryside for hours. Daniel Mercer sits on a wooden bench in the back, wrists resting on his knees. Two armed guards opposite him. The canvas flap snaps in the winter wind. Beside him, his co-pilot breathes slowly, conserving strength. No one speaks much. There is nothing left to say. They pass rail lines loaded with military freight, flat cars carrying armored vehicles, coal wagons, the machinery of war moving east and west across the Reich. By late afternoon, barbed wire appears on the horizon. Guard towers, searchlights. The truck slows. A painted wooden sign hangs over the gate. Stalag Luft III. The name means something to Mercer. Every American airman has heard whispers about it. A camp specifically for captured Allied air crews. Escape attempts, tunnels, retaliation. The gates open with a metallic groan. Inside, rows of barracks stretch across frozen ground. Thin columns of smoke rise from small chimneys. Prisoners in worn uniforms stand behind wire fencing, watching the new arrivals. The truck stops. Rouse. They climb down one by one. The camp commandant, a tall Luftwaffe officer in a long coat, steps forward. His manner is controlled, professional, almost detached. He surveys the Americans. "You are officers," he states calmly. "You will be treated according to the Geneva Convention. Cooperation will ensure comfort." Comfort. Mercer studies the double fences topped with barbed wire. The machine gun nests in each tower. A guard leads them to a registration hut. Dog tags are recorded. Personal effects confiscated. Pockets turned inside out. One of Mercer's gunners mutters, "We should have bailed sooner." Mercer answers quietly, "We landed alive." That is the only victory they have. As dusk falls, they are escorted to a wooden barrack. The door creaks open. Inside, Allied prisoners look up from bunks and crude tables. British uniforms, Canadian patches, American jackets like their own. An RAF officer stands and approaches. "New crash?" he asks. Mercer nods once. "Two ships," he replies, "collided." A low whistle moves through the room. "Bloody miracle you're here." Mercer doesn't feel like a miracle. He feels tired. Outside, the camp loudspeaker crackles to life with a German announcement. Guards change shifts in the towers. Snow begins to fall lightly, drifting through the searchlights. Mercer sits on the lower bunk assigned to him. Through the frost-covered window, he can see the outer fence. Beyond it, dark forest. Freedom is no longer sky and altitude. It is a line of trees he cannot reach. And somewhere beyond those trees, the war continues without him. But even behind barbed wire, airmen think of one thing: escape. Winter settles over Stalag Luft III like a slow, suffocating weight. Daniel Mercer wakes each morning to the same sound: boots on frozen ground. Guards changing shifts in the towers. The rattle of keys against iron. The sky above the wire is pale and distant. He has not touched an aircraft since the frozen field. Days pass in routine. Roll call, thin soup, counting steps along the inner fence. But airmen are not built for waiting. In Barrack 104, Mercer sits at a rough wooden table with British and Canadian officers. A crude map is spread beneath a deck of playing cards. Beneath the floorboards, a hollow space has already begun to form. Sands to light, an RAF major whispers, shows up against the snow. Mercer nods. Then we scatter it at night. Escape is not hope, it is duty. Across the compound, German guards patrol in pairs. They are not SS. They are Luftwaffe professional. Strict, but not brutal without cause. They know the rules. So do the prisoners. Yet tension hums constantly beneath the surface. One afternoon, as Mercer stands near the fence, a work detail passes outside the outer perimeter. Civilian laborers, clearing snow along the road. Among them, he recognizes a face. The factory woman from the crash site. Her coat is the same dark wool. Her hands still bear faint grease stains. She sees him too. Their eyes meet through defenses of barbed wire. There is no smile, no wave, only recognition. She watched him land instead of crash into her town. She saw him choose the field. Now she sees him behind wire. A German guard notices the lingering glance and steps between them. The woman lowers her head and continues walking. Mercer turns away slowly. War reduces everything to lines enemy and ally, prisoner and guard. But in that brief look, something human had crossed the wire. That night, snow falls harder. In the barrack, Mercer crawls through the narrow tunnel entrance carved beneath his bunk. The air inside is tight, stale. Men dig in silence, passing sand back in small sacks. The tunnel extends only a few more feet before it must turn. It will take months, maybe longer than the war. Suddenly, a whistle pierces the night. Searchlights snap on. Boots pound outside. A shout in German echoes through the compound. Mercer freezes inside the tunnel. Above him, guards are running. The sound of wood splintering, another barrack being searched. Someone has been caught. The tunnel trembles as Mercer holds his breath in the darkness. Dirt pressing against his chest. The war did not end when they landed. It simply changed shape. And now, beneath frozen ground in the heart of Nazi Germany, survival depends not on wings, but on silence.